I lost $400,000 in my Roth IRA. All right, let's dive into this. A number of you guys have sent this to me. It's probably the fourth time I've done this video because I'm trying to make it as clear and concise as possible. So I'm just trying to cut back on. I just want you guys to understand this because it's important. So here's a guy, a survey by Derek Saul, a personal finance expert, I guess, found that 92% of Americans think they should be investing in a Roth IRA. But Derek Saul says that's bad advice because from his own personal experience, he lost $400,000 of retirement income by having invested in a Roth versus traditional. All right. So the root of the problem is that people assume that if they're paying 22% on the money that's going forward, a Roth IRA today, they'll likely pay 22% of the tax. If they're paying 22% tax on the money that's going towards a Roth today, they'll likely owe at least 22% in the future. All right? I 100% agree with that. They're saying if I'm in a 22% tax bracket today, I'll be in a 22% tax bracket in the future. People that watch this channel know that's silly, but he probably is right. I think a lot of ignorance about taxes. So I think that's probably correct. All right. So, but you're more likely to have lower income in retirement than you do today. Again, 100% agree with that. That's why I wrote my book, all my books, Relax and Retire, because that's unequivocally true. All right, so this guy, so here's his first mistake. Instead of earning a household income of $70,000 roughly, which is the median household income, the retirees are earning $47,000. All right, so far so good. They're basically inherently saying the median household income is $70,000, but the average household income, we're going to, apples to oranges a bit, but so we're going to use the average household income is $47,000 in retirement. Inherently, we have less income in retirement than we did when we were working, so we have less taxes to pay. After the standard deduction, the average retired household income of $47,000 only pays $2,000 in taxes, which is a 4.2% effective tax rate. How do we get that 4.2? We take the 1992, divide that by our gross income, 47,620, and that gives us that 4.2% effective tax rate, which is critical. This is good to know. Good stuff so far. Good stuff so far. I'm going to freaking knock it out of the park here in just a second, though. You're paying, so here's where he makes his first mistake. You're paying 22% tax today by doing a Roth to save 4.2% in retirement. Well, where he makes his big mistake is no one's paying 22% effective tax rate on $70,000. All right, no one is. And this is where I started my whole channel. Wes Moss had an article in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, if memory serves, where he basically said, what was it? The optimal income you need for happiness was like $87,000. A guy named Daniel Kahneman came up with that, if memory serves. And Kahneman won a Nobel Prize, Thinking Fast and Moving Slow. I got the book back there. And he won it with his research with a guy named Amos Tversky, who died before the Nobel was awarded. A little bit controversy there, actually. And I think Kahneman came up with the idea that the optimal income for happiness is about $87,000. All right, so what Wes Moss did was a big mistake. He said, well, $87,000, that's your spending money. That's your net money. And what Wes Moss does, he says, well, you still have to pay tax on that money. And if you're an effective tax rate of 25%, that means you need gross income of 116. Again, this is what we want for you to know, the difference between gross and taxable income. So if our optimal income is $87,000, that's spending money. We need 116 of gross income, an effective 25% tax bracket. And no one who's making $87,000 is in a 25% effective tax bracket. And so what Wes did, unfortunately, he said we need 116 gross. He just said, well, it takes, freaking, $60,000 of Social Security, which means we need $56,000 from our retirement accounts. And then we divide that by 0.04, and we need to have $1.4 million in order to have the optimal income as according to Daniel Kahneman. And if Kahneman didn't come up with that number, someone did, but it's along the same lines. And I said, that's just crazy because you're not paying a 25% effective tax rate, Wes Moss, at $87,000 income. That's how I started my whole channel. I think my first video was on that. I still have my tie. I don't think I have my jacket. All right, so anyway, so this guy is implying that your effective tax rate on $70,000 is 22%. It's not. It's just not even close to it. I don't understand why he's doing that. But now, later on, he kind of pulls back. He fixes it. So let's come down here. it comes down to the marginal tax rate versus the effective tax rate. One, I completely agree. The effective tax rate is the average tax you pay. So with your ladder tax system, you pay 10% on some income, 12% on some, 22% on enough, on some others. If you earn $122 in a year, you have an effective tax rate of 9.8. You pay basically $12,000 on $122,000 of income. Your effective tax rate, for simplicity, is 10%. I completely agree. All right, the marginal tax rate is the tax bracket you're in. So at 122%, $122,000, you're in the 22% tax bracket. Your marginal tax bracket, your marginal tax rate is 22%, and he's 100% right. So here we go from the tax foundation, and this is, again, you got to know the difference between AGI and taxable income. A lot of people don't. This drives up the wall. So here's some tax foundation. For married individuals filing jointly, the top of the 12% tax bracket, or the bottom of the 22 is the same thing, is basically $90,000. All right, so a lot of people are going to say, oh, if I make $91,000, I'm in the 22% tax bracket. No, because you still have standard deductions. All right, so you take that $27,700 plus the $89,450, that puts you at $117,000 at the top of the 12% tax bracket or the bottom of the 22% tax bracket. So if you have 117 and you make another $5,000 like this guy's talking about, that $5,000 is subject to a 22% tax rate. Why? Because you're now, that extra $5,000 puts you in the 22% marginal tax bracket. Remember, marginal tax rates are the amount of taxes you pay for the next dollar of earnings, the next dollar of earnings. So if I'm at 117, all right, and I make another $5,000, that $5,000 is taxed at my marginal tax rate, which is 22%. My effective tax rate is still going to be pretty low because that will bring my taxes up a little bit, but not much. So I'm still paying on that 122, I'm still only paying an effective tax rate of basically 10%. That's the effective tax rate. The marginal tax rate is the amount of tax I pay on my next dollar of income. So that's why this guy uses 122, because it does put him $5,000 into the 22% tax bracket. And his argument is that $5,000 should be used to do a pre-tax Roth as opposed to a pre-tax IRA, a tax-deductible IRA, as opposed to a Roth. Because basically, if you do a deductible IRA, check this out. If you do well, in this case, the guy's saying if you do a Roth, a non-deductible, you're paying 22% on that extra $5,000, so you can save 9.8% in retirement. And this is where he makes his big mistake, actually. You're saving yourself, so by doing a traditional IRA, this guy argues, you're saving yourself 22% if you agree to pay 9.8% today. All right, again, because of the difference between marginal and effective tax rates. So he says, why would you ever do a Roth to pay 22% to avoid 9.8% in the future? And I completely agree with this. That's no different than if you're making $1 million right now as income. You'd never do a Roth if you're going to be making $50,000 in retirement. It doesn't make sense. What I'm saying, if you're literally making $1 million today while you're working, and you're only going to make freaking $50,000 in the future, don't do Roth. That makes no sense. That's the same argument here, essentially. But where he messes up, though, this is the thing that's annoying to me. If you put your money in a traditional IRA, deferring the marginal tax at 22%, so you can pay the effective tax rate in retirement. In other words, you're saving yourself 22% taxes today if you agree to pay 9.8% taxes in retirement, assuming the same income and tax rates. That's not true, Derek. Assuming the same income and tax rates. The same income is 122. That extra $5,000 has to come out at some point, either with RMDs or just pulled out. It will still be coming out at 22%. How does this guy not see this? If I'm making 122, that I'm at the 117, and I have an extra $5,000. I'm paying a 22% marginal tax rate on the extra $5,000, be it now or in the future. I'm not getting deferral on 122, so I'm basically paying 9.8% effective tax rate now and in the future. It's got to be one or the other. I cannot say I'm going to do a traditional IRA, right? Pay 9.8% today, and defer that $5,000 into the future and only pay 9.8% because I still have to pull the money out, which will still put me in the 22% tax rate. What? Like, come on. This doesn't make any sense. You're not swapping 22 for 9.8. You're swapping 22 now for 22 in the future. That's what you're doing. I hope this makes sense. I'm like, dude, because he says right here, assuming the same income and same tax rates. If the same income is 122 and the same tax rates, that extra $5,000 that you deferred today will be paying 22% in the future. I mean, come on. The argument would be, actually, that if you're in a lower income tax bracket in the future because you have lower income, then you don't want to do a Roth. Again, if I'm Bill Gates making, my ill-gotten gains at friggin' $1 million a year, and here's old Josh digging ditches at $50,000 a year, Bill Gates doesn't want to do freaking a Roth IRA if he's going to be making my kind of income when he retires. That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense at all. If I'm Josh at $50,000 a year, and I expect to be making not even Bill Gates money, but just a little bit about the same or more, and then you got to factor in Social Security in this with a tax torpedo and stuff, then I should be doing a Roth, and especially if I'm getting 11% return on my money, like this guy's. He had his assumptions are 11% rate of return. I'm like, okay. So a couple things. He's allowing it to be thought of that if you're a median income household of $70,000, that's a 22% effective tax rate. It just does not. A 22% marginal tax rate. It just does not. He's also allowing it to be known if you have 122, your effective tax rate is about 10%. Your marginal tax rate is 22%. I completely agree with that. The same thing is when you're in retirement, though, man. If you're in the same income and same tax brackets, that 122 is still 122 with an effective tax rate of 9.8 and a marginal tax rate of 22. You still have to pull that $5,000 out that is above the 12% tax bracket. And it will be taxed accordingly at 22%. And even worse, I'm getting 11% rate of return on my money. I mean, how much, if we're getting 72 divided by 11, that money is doubling every 6.5 years. Not to do a Roth IRA would be insanity to me. If I can get that kind of rate of return, you absolutely should do Roth IRA, 100%, unequivocally, because that's tax-free growth, without question. I'm not even getting into the emotional issues or my own experience. I'll still do it. I'll never forget this. Shirley out of New Jersey. I'm sure she's probably not with us anymore. She was great. She was a single lady, and she lived in a condo in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. And she needed to pull $80,000 a year from her IRA to make ends meet because it's freaking expensive in New Jersey. And every year, and her portfolio was being decimated, not just because of the amount she's withdrawing, but the taxes she had to pay to stupid Governor Christie, now stupid Tom Murphy, whatever that clown's name is. So she had to pay New Jersey income tax on that IRA distribution, and she had to pay federal income tax as well. And as a single person, with her Social Security and all that IRA income, she was in, I think back then it was like 25% effective tax rate, 25% marginal tax rate, because she's single. So of that $80,000, she needed $80,000 to make ends meet on top. She needed basically $100,000 a year, roughly. That's a lot, yeah, because she had a mortgage, she had a property taxes in New Jersey was through the roof. Its cost of living in New Jersey is through the roof. She had a condo fee was through the roof. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I get it. Don't freaking just, well, she should, okay, I'm not talking about what she should do. This is what she needed to maintain her standard of living. She needed $80,000 net from her IRA, which meant we had to take $100,000 every single year from her IRA to pay the stupid government, which is actually, I think we actually had to pay more because she was in a 25% marginal tax bracket. All right, so we had to pull like 100 to 110 on 80 to net her $80,000 a year. I'm telling you, man, when I started this business, the same thing. I took $100,000. I needed $100,000 the first year. I said, I'm going to give you $100,000, Josh, from a 401k to live on. Now I was under the age of 59 and a half, so I had to pay taxes and a 10% penalty. I had to pay $30,000 more in income tax. Now, 10% of that is because of a penalty, I grant you, in order to give me a net of $100,000 to live. And the crazy thing is when you're retired, that hits or not having a steady paycheck, a petty paycheck, that hits a whole lot worse than when you're working and you got abundant income coming in. You know you have abundant income because you're not budgeting anything. I'm telling you right now. People, when they're working, they have more money coming in. They're like, I got it. We'll buy it. Because I got the money coming in. It changes everything once you retire. All of a sudden, that money isn't coming in. I'm telling you. And all of a sudden, that money is coming from your portfolio. You're looking at that portfolio. And a whole different emotional freaking thought process comes when you're retired. And not only is the money not coming in and not adding to your portfolio, here the money, your limited amount of Social Security, plus you're pulling from your portfolio, plus you got to pay taxes. It changes everything. Everything, dude. I'm just telling you right now. You can spreadsheet this till you're blue in the face. Wait till you're 72 years old. You need $50,000 from your IRA. You're going to say, I'm glad I followed whatever this guy, Derek's stuff, and I did it traditional. Yeah. And you're single. $50,000 from your IRA plus your Social Security, you're bordering on a 25% marginal tax bracket. That means $12,500 in taxes you're going to have to pay, and that's only to the feds. So for $50,000 distribution, you're paying $62,500. So if you had $1 million, $50,000 distribution at 5%, that's no big deal. $1 million, that's $62,500 that you got to pull out to pay for the taxes too. That's a 6.2% distribution rate. It changes everything. Don't get sucked into these freaking spreadsheets. Denise sent me, goes, can you look at the spreadsheet? I said, I'm done with spreadsheets. I mean, look, I got done with spreadsheets. No, I'm not going to look at a spreadsheet. Because and she didn't say it like, can you? She just said, what do you think about it? No, because you got to look at the emotional construct here that comes with retiring. When the money stops flowing, man, it changes everything. All your freaking spreadsheets, dude, I don't care. I'm telling you right now. This is the thing. I have experience working with real clients since 1998. I can see what they went through. And I'm telling you, that's why I'm so adamant of paying off your debt. You pay off your debt, you don't need the income to pay for that debt in retirement, which means you don't need to pay the income tax to draw the income to pay that debt in retirement. And you don't have that freaking worry every year, every month, I got to pay this bill, I got to pay this bill. It changes everything. Dude, if you can live on Roth and Social Security, pay no taxes, I don't care what a spreadsheet says. Emotionally, it's gratifying and it's relieving too, because you don't have to worry about the tax man. You don't have to worry about what they're going to do taxes. I mean, they're going to tax you on your Roth. Okay. Wake me when that happens. They're going to take away your Social Security. Okay. Wake me when that happens. Anyway, love your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe. If you like the work I do, buy my book. And of course, buy me a cup of coffee in the doobie-doo. $5 a decaf. I'll take it from you. All right. We'll see you guys.